Are you starting to declutter your home and feeling a little confused about what to keep and what to throw away? I know that feeling. Decluttering is sometimes more than just about tidying up, it's also about making confusing choices, especially when you're afraid of accidentally throwing away something you'll need later. But don't worry. In this video, I'll share with you 10 items that, in my experience, should never be thrown away. They're seemingly small things, but when you need them, you'll be glad you kept them. If you're not sure where to start with the declutter process, start by deciding what you should keep. This will help you feel less stressed and avoid regrets later. Let's get started. Number 1 is spare parts accessories. In the process of cleaning, you will inevitably come across a bag or box full of small items, a lid, a piece of wire, a joint, or something that you don't even remember what it belongs to. And the first reflex is usually, I don't know what it's for, probably don't need it, throw it away. But this is a group of items that should be a little more careful. Why? Because there are so many accessories and parts that come with household appliances, from blenders, vacuum cleaners, to electronic devices, that if even a small part is missing, the item is considered useless. Once, I almost threw away the entire bag of accessories for my KitchenAid mixer because I couldn't figure out what each one was for. Luckily, I asked before throwing it away because it turned out to be the mixing head and handle of the machine that I had intended to keep. If you're not sure what an item is, collect all the unknown components in a separate box, label it, and keep it somewhere easy to find. Don't leave it scattered all over the place, but don't throw it away just because it doesn't look important. A quick tip: if you buy a new appliance like a juicer vacuum fan or even a piece of kit, keep all the accessories that come with it for at least the first few months. You may not need them at first, but over time, as you get to know the device better, they'll come in handy. If you're feeling like you want to continue to clear the clutter in your home, but don't know why you can't seem to get it right, then this next video is worth a watch, because in it, I'll share items in your home that you may have become so familiar with that you no longer realize they're making your space feel heavy, cramped, or disorganized. Guaranteed to be extremely effective. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss out. Now I'll get back to today's content. Number 2 is personal items that can still be used. When starting to clean the house, especially the bathroom, many people tend to collect all the bottles that they no longer like and intend to throw them away. It could be a shampoo that doesn't suit them, a shower gel that smells bad, or a hair conditioner that makes their hair greasy. But instead of throwing it away right away, check to see if it can still be used. The reason is because items like shampoo, conditioner, shower gel, or soap still have many alternative uses. A bottle of conditioner can be used to soften leg hair to make shaving easier. Shampoo can be used as a hand sanitizer. Even facial soap can be used to wash underwear, clean the sink, or wash makeup brushes. The reality is that we often stock up on personal hygiene items on impulse, buying them on sale because of the pretty packaging or because we want to try something new. Then, a few weeks later, we find that they don't suit us and put them away. If you collect them all, you'll be surprised at how much you have. Instead of throwing them away and buying more, why not plan to use them before you buy them again? However, it's important to distinguish between items you don't like but still use and items that are broken or no longer useful. For example, expired makeup or items you haven't touched in months and know you won't use again. These should be discarded, because keeping them will only waste your time and make it more confusing to organize. In short, if a personal item is still usable, find a way to make use of it. Throwing it away just because you don't like it anymore is sometimes wasteful and will cost you money to buy the same thing again later. Now let's move on to the next part. Number 3 is items that are only used a few times a year. There is a common thought when cleaning the house: I rarely use this, so I should probably throw it away. But in reality, not all items that are used infrequently are unnecessary. The most obvious example is large kitchen items, chicken baking trays, large faux cooking pots, ceramic bowls for dipping sauce, or a set of plates that you only take out during Tet or when you have guests. You may only use these items 1 to 2 times a year, but when you need them and they are not there, it is very inconvenient. The key point is if you still use them, they are not considered redundant. Just rearrange their positions instead of leaving them in the kitchen, taking up space. You can move them to a sideboard basement or a high shelf that is rarely used. Keeping these items does not make you lazy to declutter. It just shows that you understand your own living needs. A cake pan that is only used on Christmas is still valuable. There's nothing wrong with keeping a set of glasses tucked away for guests. Just because you don't use them every day doesn't mean they're taking up space. In addition to items you rarely use but still need to keep, there's another sensitive case when it comes to cleaning when the item doesn't belong to you. Let's move on to the next section to find out. Number 4 is it's not yours. Once you start cleaning and see results, it's easy to get caught up in the declutter cycle, wanting more, cleaner, less. And sometimes your eyes will start to wander to other people's stuff in the house. This is a tricky one because even if you have the best intentions, things still have value to each person. It could be a pile of toys your grandkids don't play with anymore, or a drawer full of dad's old t-shirts. In your eyes, it's a waste, but in theirs, it might be easily replaced. So the simple rule is if it's not yours, you shouldn't decide to replace it. Even in families, this respect is essential. When you clean up your stuff first, you can motivate others to do the same. I once cleaned out my closet without saying anything, and my family members spontaneously brought out piles of clothes to sort through. No pressure, no persuasion, just leading by example. Let's move on to the next item. Number 5 is paper towels, toilet paper towels, napkin are all very ordinary items but are extremely necessary in daily life. Yet, many people, when in the declutter mode, mistakenly think I have too much. I should probably get rid of some. Actually, this is a group of items that you do not need to reduce the quantity of. Because unlike clothes or makeup, paper towels do not go out of style, do not spoil quickly, and are always needed. Sooner or later, they will be used up. Remember, paper is a consumable. If you have extra, it is not clutter, it is a reasonable reserve. No one will mind if they have a few rolls of paper on hand when they need to clean the kitchen, clean the house, or have unexpected guests coming over. And when life is busy, you do not always have the time or the mind to run out to buy more when you run out of paper. Then, today's extra becomes tomorrow's convenient. In short, paper is one of those items that doesn't need to be cut back. You don't have to prove you're a minimalist by throwing away 10 rolls of paper just because you feel like you have too much. Number 6 is memorabilia. When cleaning your house, you may come across many items that are associated with memories, an old card, a notebook, a few small gifts. At that time, it is easy to think, this is not used, should I throw it away? The answer is, if you still value it, keep it. There is no need to analyze whether it is really necessary or not. If you see it and remember a certain person, a certain time, or simply still want to keep it, that is enough. However, not all items labeled memorable should be kept. If you have a pile of things that when you look at them, you can no longer remember why you kept them or no longer feel any emotions about them, then you can review them and select some. Here's a quick tip. If you have a keepsake you really like, instead of keeping it in a box forever, find a way to make it present in your living space. Hang it up, put it on a shelf, or attach it somewhere visible. That way you can actually enjoy it, rather than just keeping it. Now let's move on to the next part. Number 7 is important documents. Anyone who has ever cleaned up papers knows that it's one of the most frustrating things to do. Warranties, old invoices, old notebooks, unused files easily pile up and look messy. But in that pile, there is a group of papers that absolutely should not be thrown away by mistake, the important documents. birth certificates, passports, degrees, land use rights certificates, vehicle registration certificates, insurance, real estate purchase, contracts, marriage, and divorce certificates are things you need to keep carefully. Not only because they are needed for many administrative procedures, but also because if they are lost, reapplying for them is both time consuming and costly. For example, if you lose your birth certificate, you have to apply, submit documents, wait for processing, and pay fees. If you lose your passport, the procedures are even more complicated. Even if you lose your degree, many places won't issue the original. Simple tip: set aside a folder or drawer just for the important papers. Don't get too specific. Just make sure it's somewhere you never go when sorting through papers for disposal. Let's move on to the next item. Number 8 is a few duplicates. When cleaning, you'll often hear the advice, one of each is enough. But in reality, there are many items that are worth having more than one of because you use them constantly in different places, or simply need to rotate their uses. The most obvious example is in the kitchen. You cook every day, and sometimes in the same meal, you've used 2 pairs of tongs, 2 spoons, or a few different dishcloths. Having an extra pair of scissors in the office, another in the kitchen, can be a nuisance. On the other hand, it's a lack of utility. Keeping duplicates can make sense. As long as you know how and where you use them and don't let things collect dust, there's nothing wrong with keeping 2 or 3 of the same item. Let's move on to the next section to find out. Number 9 is towels, blankets, pillows. A very common piece of advice when decluttering is, if there are people in the house, keep exactly the same number of towels, pillows, and bed sheets. It sounds reasonable, but in reality, living is not that simple. Why? Because there are many unplanned situations. Guests come over, children spill water, the washing machine breaks down, it rains and can't dry in time. At that time, if you don't have spare fabrics, everything will become more troublesome than necessary. I'm not saying you have to fill your closet with old blankets and pillows that are no longer usable, but you should keep a reasonable amount of stock, a few extra towels, a set of clean unused sheets, a few thin or thick blankets depending on the season. Recently, my family had relatives come over unexpectedly and stay for a few days. Thanks to having a few extra sets of sheets, towels, and pillows, I just need to pull them out and have enough for guests. No need to run out and buy more or scramble in a hurry. I don't use those items often, but they come in extremely handy when I need them. So if your linens are clean and good condition and have a neat place to store them, it makes sense to keep them. Let's move on to the last item. Number 10 is family heirlooms. There are items that have been passed down from generation to generation: rings, watches, china, picture frames, embroidered towels. They may not be to your taste, or you may not use them, but that doesn't mean you have to throw them away. If the item reminds you of a loved one of a certain period in your family or was simply entrusted to you, you have every right to keep it. Not because you need it, but because it's a small part of your family's story. However, you don't have to keep everything just because it's a family heirloom. Be selective. If there's something that's really special, keep it. If you don't feel attached to it, you can pass it on to someone else in the family, a sister, a niece, or a relative who will appreciate it more than you do. So I've shared with you 10 items. If you're in the process of decluttering, don't rush to throw them away. Not every item that's rarely used is redundant. Not everything that's similar has to be reduced to one. And not every item that doesn't suit your taste has to leave your house. If you're feeling like you want to continue clearing the clutter in your house but don't know why you still can't seem to tidy it up, then the next video is worth watching. Because in that video, I'll share items in your house that you may be so familiar with that you don't realize they're making your space heavy, cramped, or disorganized. Guaranteed to be extremely effective. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss out. Thank you for taking the time to watch this far. See you in the next video.